What's up, guys? Welcome back to another review from Futchie's Horror Movies and More. I'm Matt, and today we're going to be talking about 1981's Friday the 13th Part 2, starring Amy Steele, and a recap starring Betsy Palmer. This is probably definitely in my top 5 for Friday the 13th films. It's the first one, but the first one done better. I know most people are like, oh no, the original, but no. Part 2 is the original, but amped up and way better, in my personal opinion. The movie starts off with a recap of the ending of Part 1, so you know exactly where we're going to be. You know, we're continuing to follow Alice, we think, until, shockingly, in the first 10 minutes, she gets killed off by an unknown killer. Kind of just like in the original. So we're going to start off pretty much the exact same way, just in a different setting. We're not at the camp. We're in, looks like a neighborhood area. That this killer was able to locate her and dispose of Alice pretty coolly, actually, with I think it was like an ice pick right through in the head, with his mom's head in the refrigerator, so that was pretty cool. Then it goes kind of to the same intro, the Friday the 13th symbols flying at the screen, that awesome score is playing, the explosion, and it just rolls the credits through that awesome score, setting up, you know, another creepy installment of this franchise. We also meet Crazy Ralph again in this movie. You gotta love him with the same lines. I tried to tell the others, you're all doomed. However, this time, they got sick of hearing Ralph, so the killer finally took him out and got rid of him. Which kind of sucked, because he was a pretty cool character. I mean, he wasn't in it that much, but the little moments he was in it, you could kind of get that he was just one of those creepy, towny kind of guys. And I enjoyed his screen time, even though it was short. Whenever it's a new set of counselors going out to the camp to train. On their way out there's a big tree laying in the middle of the road. When I first saw it, I really didn't think anything of it, but as I watched the movie more, you think, okay, so the killer obviously drug that there, so that the counselors would not be able to make it to camp because he didn't want anybody there. He really wasn't, in my opinion. We all know the killer was Jason, obviously, but in my opinion, it's like Jason, he really didn't want to kill them, so he tried to prevent them from going there in the first place. That way he didn't have to kill them, but since nobody ever listens to anybody's warnings, everybody wants to go to Camp Crystal Lake. Jason got a little pissed off, and he got rid of all those counselors, for the most part. When we get to camp, it's a likable bunch of kids as the counselors. My favorites are Paul and Ginny, which Ginny's probably the greatest final girl. She don't take no shit. She's super smart, going to school for child psychology, so that comes into play, you know, in the finale of this film. Definitely Paul. He's a likable. That's her boyfriend. He's a likable guy as well. He's the one who runs the camp and makes sure everything's going good. His best scene probably is whenever he's giving his Jason speech when they're all gathered around the campfire. I just love the atmosphere. You can hear the fire crackling. It's just nothing but the elements. It's awesome. It's super creepy because everybody's really into it, and Paul's really into giving the speech, and they all think it's just, come on, it's just gonna be some kind of folklore, you know, like a legend. But what they don't realize is that it actually comes to be later in the film, and they'll all get to meet Mr. Jason Voorhees himself. In this movie, though, Jason, he's not sporting the hockey mask we're all used to. He's actually sporting like a nice awesome pair of coveralls that he got from the Rednecks R Us. And he's walking around with that potato sack bag on his head with one eye cut out, not two. I guess he did that for the creepy effect, because I know his visibility would be pretty damn crappy. You know, looking through one hole instead of two, because he does have two eyes. So, I don't know what he was thinking. That's probably why he's bumbling around in this one, a little awkward and, you know, klutzy in this movie compared to all the other films. Like I said before, this has pretty much the same recipe as a whodunit as the first, but this one is amped up and 20 times better, in my opinion. A thing that you got to think about is later in the movie when they let the counselors go to the bar if they want to go to the bar. Those were the lucky ones. They got to go to the bar. They didn't have to stay there and worry about where Jason's going to be, actually. So, like Ted, he was getting drunk as shit. But he was lucky because he wasn't getting killed by Jason later. So those people should have took the opportunity and should have went to the bar. They would have got to live a longer life than what the ones that stayed behind were going to do. While they were at the bar, that's whenever Ginny was giving her speech. She kind of felt, you know, sympathetic towards Jason and Mrs. Voorhees. She was justifying what Mrs. Voorhees was doing. She lost her son. She was very upset, so she was taking it on the counselor. She kind of agreed with them. And then she was wondering what Jason would actually look like nowadays. Would he be, you know, deformed, retard, living in the woods? Would he be, you know, disabled kid and just scared, just wanting his mommy back? So she was she felt sorry for both of them, but I guess that's her psychology degree. She's kind of coming into play. She gets to feel for both of them. We're going to speed back up to when they get the kills at the camp. The one kill when the guy is hanging in the tree, if you notice, whenever they slit his throat, the machete's actually upside down. So the sharp part of the blade isn't even on his throat, but they go with it anyway. And I guess in post they didn't realize that they did that, but they went with it, and most people probably wouldn't even notice it anyway, to be honest with you. Another cool kill in this movie is the shish kebab kill through the bed, when the two counselors are upstairs having sex, and then Jason comes up and just sticks that spear right through their back, and you see the tip come through the bottom and the blood starts pouring out. That's another pretty sweet kill. But Friday the 13th is loaded with these gory, over-the-top kills. Just like in the first one, Jason takes them out one by one until we're down to the final girl. In this case, it was the final girl, Ginny and Paul, because they both made it to the end. And then we finally get our first look at Baghead Jason. You didn't really see him up until this point. Until he started killing the kids in probably the third act of the movie. And he's pretty creepy. I mean, he's not as big and bulky as he is in the other ones, but he's still pretty menacing. And honestly, if you saw this guy trying to attack you, you're definitely gonna run away. When Paul and Jenny come back from the bar to check on everybody, they notice everybody's gone. It's definitely a creepy atmosphere because there's no people around at all. Just them two are going around looking for the rest of the counselors. Until they walk in, I believe it's the living room of the cabin, and that's whenever Ginny sees somebody. Then she's like, "Paul, there's somebody in the fucking room!" And as Paul's getting beat up by Jason, Ginny just conveniently stands there and watches him get beat up instead of maybe going in to help, you know, fight Jason with Paul. Instead, she just stands there and yells, "Paul! Paul!" Like, do something. Do something. You're not helping by screaming. If you double teamed him, you probably would have been able to take him out faster. Instead, it's a pretty good chase scene that comes from that, where Jason chases her through the woods. She gets a few good shots on him and then chases him to Jason's shack in the middle of the woods. Jason's been living it up in that shack too, you know what I mean? He had running water in there maybe. He might have had a nice bed. He's living pretty good. He had his mom's head out there. with the bloody sweater. So he takes care. He got decoration skills, you know what I mean? He breaks in the house where Ginny is, but she's already in there with the Mrs. Voorhees sweater on and her hair tucked in to look just like Mrs. Voorhees, and that's where her child psychology came into play. She's messing with Jason because Jason has the mind of a child. So she gets him to kneel down and do all that until he, with that one eye, looks over and sees his mom's head, and he knows that she's been fucking with him. It's a pretty good third act, to be honest, and Paul comes in to save the day and wrestles with Jason a little bit until Ginny finally grabs that machete and whacks him right down through the shoulder. You think everything's pretty good. They take his mask off and see how grossly deformed he is and everything. And they go back to the other cabin where the camp was and think everything's all good. And just like in the first one, at the end with the jump scare, when Jason jumps on Alice, this time Jason jumps through the window with his hair flowing in the breeze, his deformed lumpy face, and he pulls Ginny back out through the window. And then that's it. That wraps up part 2. So like I said, part 2 is part 1, but amped up. I like Jason way better than Mrs. Voorhees. Nothing personal, I just always love Jason. He's the face of the franchise. So out of 5 stars, I'd probably give Friday the 13th part 2. I would probably give it 3 out of 5. I like the cast. I like the atmosphere. I like the kills. I like Jason. It's just a pretty dope movie. I would definitely check it out if you haven't. Like I said, I'm going to keep these videos getting pumped out probably 2 to 3 times a week. I love doing this. Horror movies are my passion. They really are. It's always been a big part of my life since I was a little kid. Michael and Jason. So hopefully you like this video. Hopefully you hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hopefully you'll be seeing more of me, and because I'm going to be here. No matter how 1 view or 20 views or 100 views, I'm still going to pump these out, and hopefully somebody out there will get enjoyment out of these. And as always, if any feedback you guys could give me, that'd be greatly appreciated. So I'm going to tell you one more thing, and you have yourself a good day. I can't believe I forgot this kill. I forgot Mark getting hit in the face with a machete and rolling down all those steps. I can't believe I forgot it. It's an epic kill and I apologize. So I had to make this short little clip to put in after the fact. But bye-bye, Mark. It's a long way down.